After the strike, the physical and psychological toll of lightning strikes. The sun was shining when lightning struck Steve Marshburn Sr. Steve, a banker, had stepped into a gaggle of people crowding the bank's lobby on a cool November morning in 1969. In Swansboro.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park, pot.